So Rajiji, as a thought leader, he perhaps pioneered this and he created this awareness that there is other side to truth also. So he showed courage, and that opened doors for many young people, lots of people who wanted to say things. And that's how I think a new kind of grand Indian narrative, the seeds were sown to take these leftists, these communists head on a stage is a totally different quality. It's not that every Hindu intellectual has that quality. To take them head on stage, one on one, face off, is something which I think Rajiv Malhotra started, and I'm just following that tradition. In fact, I got to know Rajiv ji through his book, Breaking India. And that actually set me thinking. I mean, I've been a leftist, I've been involved in leftist politics a lot. But then that book, first time, um, what it did for me was a kind of a paradigm shift. Not a full shift, but it made me wonder, made me think that there can be other side of the truth also. Maybe what I've been following is not right. And since then, I got interested in this subject, and which finally resulted into a film called Buddha in a Traffic Jam, and my book Urban Axles. So if you see, Urban Axles is more or less on the same kind of theme, but deals with a totally different side of the spectrum. Uh, so that way, intellectually, I found myself closer to Rajiv ji in the ecosystem, and then I inquired about him. And these days, it's very easy through internet. You can find out about people. And then it so happened. Then I was in US, and one day Rajiv ji invited me to his house, in Princeton. And I remember early morning I drove there, and then we sat down and he did a podcast with me. And we spoke, but beside the podcast also, we spent a very good time. He has a wonderful house with a swimming pool in the back. It was winter, I remember, very cold. I was on a tour. So that's how we became friends. And we have met after that many, many times and spoken on phone. We share a lot of things. And since then, I developed mutual respect and love for each other. See, I think his major contribution is that in India, especially in the education and intellectual ecosystem, it was fully dominated by the leftists. And the leftist movement in India has been useless for very, very long time, for decades. And because they have been showing the kind of history, and they are uh, writing books, which basically just represent one utopian idea, and which is not the real India. Real India has its own challenges, and they never address those challenges. And so Rajiji, as a thought leader, he perhaps pioneered this, and he created this awareness that there is other side to truth also. I personally believe that there is no whole truth in the arena of politics or history or narratives. uh, so he opened the doors for many, many people. He showed the courage. So for me, the first sign of a leader is courage. A lot of people have conviction, but they don't have courage. So he showed courage. And that opened doors for many young people, lots of people who wanted to say things. And that's how I think a new kind of grand Indian narrative, the seeds were sown. And so that way he pioneered, and I really, really respect him only for that. Second thing I really, really admire and appreciate for him, that he invested in research and think products of academic value. And he always tells me this, and this is, I always tell young people, everybody, there's no point writing on Twitter. Any idiot can write on Twitter. Anybody can come and fight, and your work for the narrative, the grand Indian narrative, the great grand Hindu narrative, has to result into products. Otherwise, you can just keep trolling leftists, but you will lose the war. and therefore importance of products. That is the after courage, the importance of products. That's why I write books, I write articles, I give speeches, I give as many interviews as possible. I don't shy from, and I make movies on top of that. I make web series. I convert all my knowledge which I'm learning into products. And I think this is something, maybe subconsciously, I was inspired by Rajiv ji. I get his emails, those podcasts, and a lot of stuff almost every week. So at this age, he's constantly doing it. And what do you gain out of this? This academic knowledge sharing doesn't give you any money, trust me. It's a very lonesome, it's a very, very thankless job. Okay, the people who gain something from you, that they use you as a step of a ladder and they move ahead, and then people forget you. This is the life of a historian, this is the life of a researcher, this is the life of a thought leader. But that's a good thing. But without that first thought, there'll be no second, third, fourth chain of thoughts. So that way, I think his contribution is immense. I think this dominance of extreme leftist thought process in Indian mindset has made the Hindu population primarily, especially, feel guilty about their past. And I believe that no generation can ever grow and become stronger without pride in their history, in their heritage. And I, as a young person in university, I remember very, very well that not me, but everybody around, everybody, barring a couple of people, were very guilty of our existence, our past. We never understood our worth. And that way, I think we are walking on the same path. He's also trying to make the youth feel proud and make the youth aware of the challenges. And I'm also trying to do the same thing with my films and my books. Exactly. I am like the next film, which is coming on 15th August in 2025. It's called The Delhi Files. I'm busy shooting that right now. Now, Partition, every time you have seen Partition, you have seen it purely the Punjab side of Partition. Nobody has looked at where the real intellectual wealth was, where the cultural heritage was Bengal. Everything Vedanta, if you see, all kind of reforms, the modern Hinduism, the nationalism, the patriotism, the entire Bande Mataram movement, the art, literature, everywhere if you see the kind of a renaissance which took place in Bengal. But no popular Masi film shows that. Therefore, people don't understand that. And because you do not know that, it doesn't affect you that Bengal today is becoming another Kashmir. The partition never ended in Bengal. Two-nation theory during partition never ended. It still exists in Bengal. There are two nations. Now, that Breaking India is also talking about that people are dividing nation like this. So I think that way we are on the same path. See, I'll tell you what. Ultimately, in the history of a civilization, the truth is the same. Like for an individual, there is one truth. Similarly, there can be millions and millions of ways to reach there. But when those millions of ways work in opposite directions or they work at tangent, then a civilization, a society, a nation can never ever find that nirvana, the highest level of evolution. And that's where India is struggling today. India has the capacity to be Vishwaguru, which our politicians talk about. Okay, but the reason we are not reaching there, and the reason I find it very difficult to reach there, is because we are all working at tangent. And that's where I think for thought leaders and people who have mass appeal like Rajiv Malhotra ji and me and lots of other people working towards the same goal, give strength to this mission of, again, rejuvenating or reinforcing Hindu philosophy and making the world a better place. Something which I really admire about him, and he also admires the same quality about me. Both of us are fearless people. See, Yes, apologetic, and we felt very, very sad about our past. We felt we are lesser than other people, but a lot of people try to write books and do a lot of contribution in academic area. It's not that we are the only people, uh, but to take these leftists, these communists, head on a stage is a totally different quality. It's not that every Hindu intellectual has that quality. To take them head on stage, one one, face off, is something which I think Rajiv Malhotra started, and I'm just following that tradition. We also get banned in the same universities, and we also fight with the same people. So we are in the same war, fighting our own battles, maybe geographically in different places, but we are fighting the same wars. One of the soldiers of that army. Uh, we are talking a lot about war and peace. My conviction comes from Hindu philosophy. Okay, I'm a great believer of Hindu philosophy, that about oneness. That ultimately it's all about oneness. Uh, the conflict comes when people try to destroy the history, destroy the heritage, the culture, the civilizational knowledge, especially for their greed. So all I would like to say is that read Hindu philosophy and understand the greatness and the richness of our thought. Okay, what the world is struggling to understand now, we understood thousands of years ago. Make that the foundation, and also work towards making Hinduism modern. Okay, don't get stuck in the old things, even if they are wrong. Make it modern, and you can make it modern only when you have the courage. So express yourself, do not impress. And I wish him a very, very healthy, happy life. And I hope that he continues the same work which he's doing and inspired thousands and millions of students all over the world.